Hey everybody, so I wanted to put together this quick recording for you um, on the new paradigm, basically for midlife metabolism. So I want you just to kind of bear with me as I go through this, y'all, because I think it's really important that all of us have a clearer or better understanding exactly on what's happening within our bodies and just to become more literate so that when we are with, maybe our primary care doctor or other specialists, we can kind of put words to the symptoms or situations that our body may be feeling or going through. So I think it's really important for us to go through this. Okay, so I want to talk about the paradox that you are doing everything right, yet you're feeling worse. Okay, so when we talk about the input, clean eating, HIIT workouts, right? Strict discipline, intermittent fasting. Those are the inputs, and we're talking about paradox, okay? But the output from the inputs are the visceral fat storage, and that's basically storage in the abdominal area. 3 a.m. wakings, right? 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning. Systemic inflammation, and profound fatigue. Most of the women in our community, Nourishing Flow Circle, and other women that I work with who are not in our community, not yet, the majority of you guys mention burnout or fatigue. Okay. And so I just want to put that out there that you're not by yourself. But I want you to also to have a better understanding as far as what's going on. So y'all, I did post two additional videos that I put together on Notebook LM. If you haven't used Notebook LM and if you are a trainer, a coach, a teacher, check it out. Okay, it's really, really awesome tool through Google. But anyway, I put this one together as well. But I want you to go back and watch those other two. Okay, just want to throw that in there. But anyway, y'all, healthy habits have a shelf life. Okay, what optimize your body at 35 is viewed by your physiology as a threat at 45. Well, let's just say 40 and older. Midlife metabolism does not respond to force, y'all, it responds to safety. Okay. Now, the wellness industry, y'all, they sell you a broken formula. Basically, what they are pushing, just so you know, give you a little bit of context here. Majority of the research and the recommendations from that research is for men. Okay, men really 25 years of age, 29 years of age. Okay, not enough has been done yet. There are some studies happening now, but we're still in I would say infancy stage of really understanding what the female body needs, especially when you're going through that transition of menopause, postmenopause, that transitional stage. There more research needs to be done, and some research is being conducted. And there are some studies out there, but not nearly enough. So just keep that in mind. The wellness industry sells a broken formula, y'all, and the trap is starving versus surrendering. So the industry suggests that if the protocol fails, you fail. But the modern woman is not metabolically broken. I know y'all hear that word a lot, broken, broken, broken. She's neurologically overloaded, okay? Now the context changed. In perimenopause, hormonal buffers decline. And that's really important to know and understand. Your hormonal buffers decline by 50 to 90%. And the conflict is that intense exercise without buffers that we had when we were younger, it becomes a metabolic threat. And the result is that the body holds energy because it perceives a famine environment. Now, when I say it holds energy, I'm talking about food, okay? It's not burning up the food like it once did. So your symptoms are not defects, it's data, okay? It's data. Old view, right? You have the noise, the panic, Old view, my metabolism is failing. Weight gain is a moral failure. And that's the thing, is like the wellness industry has caused so many women to feel shame and guilt and blaming themselves because of inadequate information out there. Okay. Now, the reframe is the new view. Okay. My metabolism is adapting. Weight gain is a message about safety. So your body is not stubborn, y'all. Your body is intelligent. Your body is smart. Your body is strategic. Your body is doing everything to keep you alive. Okay? Now, the metabolic cascade, y'all, this is the mechanism. Okay? Cortisol wired, y'all. That is the driver. Okay? That is the initiator with during this transition. These what I'm going to talk about right here, they are not separate conditions. One is interconnected, okay, to the other. So it's an interconnected chain of events. Now, cortisol wired is the driver. Estrogen stuck is the amplifier, and insulin inflamed is the breakdown, and T3 downregulated is the shutdown. Okay? So it's a cascade. Think of the cortisol as the driver, the initiator. That's where the starting point, which leads to the estrogen stuck, which leads to the insulin flame and the T3 downregulated if those patterns are not interrupted before it continues to cascade down. Okay? All right, let's talk a little bit more about the cortisol wired, okay? And majority of women, most women are in this category. The cortisol wired, the driver, okay? Now, you have a cortisol curve. A healthy cortisol curve, your cortisol should peak in the morning, okay, to wake you up, get you going, and then over throughout the course of the day, it should gradually start to go down, okay? That's a healthy curve. But the initiator, the driver, right, is driven by chronic stress. That elevated cortisol is driven by chronic stress and HPA dysfunction. Now you can see the red dotted line here. That is a wired curve. Okay. So it's down when it should be up, and then it goes up, and then it kind of goes, dips a little bit, and then when it should be really dropping down so that melatonin can rise and do its job, cortisol is spiked, right? And so it's blocking that melatonin production. So the mechanism, y'all, is the progesterone steal. The body prioritizes survival over reproduction, stealing precursor hormones to make cortisol instead of progesterone. So the signals for this pattern is wired and tired, okay? The 3 a.m. wake ups, and also the visceral belly fat. The amplifier, okay, consider estrogen stuck as the amplifier. Most women that I work with are a combination, okay? They have a dominant pattern, but there's typically more than one thing going on. The estrogen stuck is the amplifier, okay? This is not about high production, but low clearance of estrogen. So cortisol, y'all, cortisol congestion prevents the efficient exit of used hormones, right? We call them dirty hormones. They get recirculated in the body instead of it being eliminated through your poop, okay, through stool. So enterohepatic, we're talking about the liver, okay? Enterohepatic recirculation, meaning the estrogen is not being eliminated, is being recirculated. Dirty metabolites are reabsorbed in your body rather than eliminated. And the signals of that happening would be like heavy periods, bloating, hip and thigh weight retention. Okay? And here you have a diagram here that kind of shows you that. And then when we get to stages 3 and 4, this is insulin inflamed and T3 downregulated. Okay? Now let's look at the breakdown. Let me raise it up some. All right, so chronic cortisol, y'all, it spikes blood sugar. So it is not uncommon during perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause for when you go have your labs done, your annual checkup for your doctor to say you're borderline diabetic, pre-diabetic. Okay, that's very common, very, very common. Chronic cortisol spikes blood sugar. When that happens, your cells become resistant. It's not letting the glucose into the cells. Okay, and what this signals is post meal crashes. So if you eat and you feel so tired after eating, it's like, oh, I need a nap. And then intense cravings, right? So the shutdown is that the body pulls the emergency brake. Okay, your body pulls the emergency brake to conserve energy, and we call this functional hypothyroidism, meaning low thyroid production. Okay, that's where you're seeing the fatigue, and that's where you're seeing the weight gain. And I mean, it's just so many things that are interconnected that play a role, y'all. So I'm trying to keep this as basic because I don't want to overwhelm you. So signals of insulin inflammation, T3 downregulation would be cold hands and feet, your hair thinning, and profound, as we mentioned earlier. I mentioned earlier, profound fatigue. So which phenotype are you? Okay, which phenotype are you? Type 1 Type 1, cortisol and estrogen. Remember I said that typically cortisol, most of the time women are a combination of cortisol and estrogen, right? Cortisol wired, estrogen stuck. Type 1 is the wired executive. Okay, let's call her the wired executive. It's cortisol and estrogen. Okay, the profile is high achieving. Typically, these women are very high achieving. They are busy. They're caregivers. They're multitasking. So many things. They have so many responsibilities. They're doing a whole lot of stuff. And they typically are high achieving women. They have heavy periods typically, the belly fat typically, and hip weight. Y'all, 40% of cases of women are going to be cortisol estrogen combo. Okay. Then you have type 2, which we call the exhausted and stuck. Okay. This is cortisol, insulin, and T3. Okay. So they're cortisol wired, they're insulin inflamed, and T3 downregulated, meaning that the body, your thyroid, is not converting the T4 to T3. It's not being converted. T3 is the active form. Okay. Profile of this person would be like brain fog, cold extremities, and weight that just won't budge. Okay, and this is 35% of cases. And then we have the complex cascade. Okay, type 3, all four stages. Everything is going on, right? Hot flashes, insomnia, profound fatigue, and typically you're going to see this in about 20% of cases, y'all. So, just some insight: you cannot treat type 3 with a type 1 protocol, and this is so why it is so important to know for yourself. I've posted the link to the gut hormone pattern quiz for you to take. It's free. It's about 2-3 minutes to take it so that you have a starting point and you can actually know where you are, where you fall, so that the protocol that you are actually implementing for your particular body is actually the right one. Okay. And not making the situation worse, which I've seen happen so many times. Okay. All right, so the solution is the tri-shift method, y'all. Now, this is a framework that I personally developed myself, okay? After years, y'all, years, I mean, like over 2 decades of working with women, okay, as a functional nutritionist, y'all. I am a dietitian. I have a master's degree in nutrition dietetics. I'm also certified with advanced training in gut health, hormone health, and some other things too. But anyway, y'all, after years and years of working with women and seeing what was going on, y'all, doing research on top of research, also trial and error things on women, including myself, I came up with this tri-shift method, okay? And it works because I saw where so many things were just not working, things were going wrong. It was like, okay, go back to the basics. What do we need to do? What's working? What's not working? How do we what's the word I'm looking for? Pivot here. How do we adapt here? What do we need to change there? So anyway, this is the tri-shift method. All right, this is a non-negotiable sequence. Okay, so metabolic repair is a hierarchy. You cannot skip to burning fat if the body is in survival mode. Okay, first safety, then timing, then capacity. So many women are frustrated. So many women are frustrated, and you know what? I was one of those women. I was like, this is it. We got to figure this out. So anyway, when you look at this tri-shift methods pyramid, at the bottom, the base, which is the largest part, is to nourish, right? This is where you stabilize inputs. That is so important. Okay, nourish. Then we move up to rhythm. This is where you repair timing. Okay, and then third, the nervous system, and this is where you regenerate. We regenerate. We work with you to regenerate capacity. Now, when we look at the first shift, the very first one, as you see here on the pyramid, the green space here is nourishment. It is the largest part, right? It's the base. And this is the most important part. This is where you want to start. You cannot skip steps, okay? All right. Nourishment is where we stabilize input. So the goal is to restore metabolic trust. With this is no restriction. There's also liver support and blood sugar anchor. You have got to stabilize the blood sugar. You've got to have blood sugar stability first and foremost, y'all. And it's not to go into detail, but it's all interconnected. So when we say no restriction, you cannot starve a body that is in a famine response. And so I see a lot of women intermittent fasting or fasting and not knowing what their pattern is, what their archetype is, and it is actually making their situation work. There's nothing wrong with fasting, but intermittent fasting, but it's not for everybody initially. Okay? You cannot starve a body that is in a famine response. So we increase specific inputs. And then we have liver support. Nutrients specifically, okay, to clear the estrogen stuck backlog. And then blood sugar anchor, protein prioritization to prevent cortisol spikes. When we look at shift 2, which is rhythm, repair, timing, the goal here is to align circadian biology, okay? Cortisol unstacking. A 10-minute meditation cannot fix a 14-hour cortisol curve, okay? You're looking at light as nutrition, anchoring the wake cycle, okay? Dinner timing, preventing insulin interference with sleep. So the right input at the wrong time, y'all, becomes a stressor, okay? And then the third shift is the nervous system shift. This is where we regenerate capacity. So you're moving from survival to actual response. Okay, your body start responding. Capacity versus management. Okay, so moving beyond coping to actively training the vagus nerve. Parasympathetic activation, telling the body the war is over, okay? And then HRV training, so using data to measure resilience. The body will not release weight while it's defending against a threat, okay? So if you're wondering, I'm doing all the right things, I'm doing all this stuff, and nothing is working, nothing's changing. There's a reason behind all of that, ladies, okay? Now, when we talk about decoding the signals, the symptom to shift diagnostic. So we don't guess. We use your symptoms as coordinates to determine where to intervene first. This is what we do in the premium tier or the premium level. So let's say symptoms, hot flashes, belly fat, brain fog. Okay. The shifts would be rhythm dysfunction, nourishment, and rhythm. All three shifts. If you're talking about brain fog, belly fat, nourishment, and rhythm, hot flashes, rhythm dysfunction. Okay. So y'all, welcome to metabolic literacy. Listen, you are not broken. The approach was, okay? I just told you about the research and what that research was for, okay? Men, young men, 25, 29-year-old men physiology, okay? So we are leaving behind the era of force, compliance, and restriction. We are entering the era of partnership, precision, and literacy, okay? The woman who learns this becomes powerful. The woman who ignores it becomes even more exhausted. If you're on medications, I want you to know that this particular framework works with your medications, okay? And in some of the cases, quite a few actually, women have come off the medication. Okay, they've been able to come off medication, continuing our tri-shift method. Okay, so it's time to stop fighting your physiology, y'all, and start fluent communication. Nourish and flow, nourish and flow. So that's all I have for you guys, ladies, for right now. I just wanted to put this video training out here for everyone, and I will load this into the classroom under resources. So if you want to go back and watch it again, it's there for you. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time, and I will be back to talk with you again soon. I look forward to your comments, your feedback, questions inside of our group. Take care.